In our headlines on this Tuesday afternoon, May 14th. Top diplomats of South Korea and China sit down for strategic talks on Monday in Beijing to set a fresh tone for bilateral ties ahead of a planned trilateral summit including Japan in late May here in capital Seoul. Findings for the month of April by Seoul Central Bank show Korea's export as well as import prices soared some 4% on month amid a stronger US dollar and surging international oil prices. And the Biden administration is set to share new tariffs targeting Chinese electric vehicles, medical supplies and solar equipment to reportedly level the playing field for American companies. Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi held a 4-hour meeting in Beijing that touched upon a number of bilateral as well as broader issues of regional interest. Our Kim Jung-shil covers this latest diplomatic interaction.
Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol met with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on Monday in Beijing. His 2-day trip to China came at the invitation of Wang, the director of the Office of China's Central Commission for Foreign Affairs. Minister Cho said to open up a new era for Seoul and Beijing, it's important to build a foundation for sustainable development by improving mutual trust. He said the two countries must continue developing a strategic partner relationship based on mutual respect, benefit, and common interest. Director Wang said the two countries established each other as strategic partners in 2008, giving each other more important diplomatic positions. But he pointed out that difficulties and challenges have increased since then and proposed to work together face-to-face to promote a healthy and stable relationship without interference. In the 4-hour meeting, the two sides discussed issues of mutual concern such as the situation on the Korean peninsula, including the North Korean nuclear threat, as well as the semiconductor supply chains.
You can tell that the two sides tried to create an atmosphere by avoiding provocative words, and it can be read that the two sides were using the opportunity of high-level talks to create new momentum for bilateral relations.
The two also discussed details of the trilateral summit between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo, scheduled for later this month. They agreed to strengthen communication using various channels. Kim Jung-shil, Arirang News.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell has stressed the significance of cooperation among Seoul, Tokyo and Washington to counter threats posed by Pyongyang. In a virtual address to members of an annual security forum here in Seoul earlier on this Tuesday, Campbell underscored the trilateral efforts aimed at coordinating an international response to North Korea's rampant and reckless violations of UN Security Council resolutions. This year's Asan Plenum gathered over 50 pundits from home and abroad to share their thoughts on maintaining peace in Asia amid persistent threats from North Korea. Findings for the month of April by Seoul Central Bank show Korea's export as well as import prices soared some 4% on month. Our Shin Se-byuk tells us why.
A strong U.S. dollar and rising international oil prices drove up both export and import prices in South Korea for the 4th consecutive month in April. Preliminary data released by the Bank of Korea on Tuesday showed that the country's export price index rose by 4.1% on month. Compared to a year ago, it rose by 6.2%. By category, manufactured goods saw a 4.1% increase from the previous month. Taking a closer look at manufactured goods driving the overall rise, prices for computers and electronic and optical devices saw a significant rise of 7.3%, and chemical products increased by 3.3%. However, prices of agricultural, forestry, and fishery products fell by 2.5% from March. Last month, the average $1 exchange rate was 1,367.831, marking a 2.8% on-month increase and a 3.6% on-year jump. The import price index for April also saw an on-month climb of 3.9%. This increase was due to the rise in international oil prices, with Dubai crude oil prices increasing by almost 6% per barrel compared to the month before. Raw materials saw a significant month-on-month increase of 5.5%. Intermediate goods rose by 3.7% on month, driven by increases in primary metal products, computers, and electronic and optical devices. Both capital goods and consumer goods increased by 1.9% from the previous month. The central bank explained that with export prices rising more sharply than import prices, the country's terms of trade have improved for the 10th consecutive month. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
President Yoon has pledged to pass a law to better protect Korea's vulnerable laborers. In his 25th session of public policy discussions on this Tuesday held here in Seoul, the president sat down with non-union workers, including those in delivery, and spoke of a legal framework to ensure financial support in the event of illness, injury, or job loss. He also said the government will accelerate its labor reform to tackle polarization amid labor market segmentation. The president's public policy sessions were paused in late March amid the general election. And the top office here has broken its silence to address the pressure imposed by the Japanese government on Korea's online platform Naver to sell its share in the company that operates Japan's popular messaging app Line. Our Moon Hae-ryun has more.
The South Korean government has spoken up to support Naver as it faces foreign pressure to sell its shares in Line Yahoo. Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy Sang Tae-eun briefed reporters on Monday afternoon about the government's current stance and future plans to assist Naver with the issue.
The government's response has so far reflected Naver's position as much as possible and will continue to support Naver with any future developments.
He stated that the government has been in communication with both Naver and the Japanese government and is waiting for the firm to make its stance clear to provide as much support as possible. Last Friday, Naver released an official statement saying that it was currently undergoing discussions with SoftBank to obtain the best result possible for the company, and the possibility of selling its shares was on the table. After a data leak from the messaging app Line last year, the Japanese government directed its operator in March to review its capital relationship with Naver to prevent it from happening again. Line Yahoo is mostly owned by A Holdings, which is a joint venture with equal stakes between South Korea's Naver and Japan's SoftBank, the firm that has been leveraging Tokyo's pressure to reduce Naver's control by slashing the South Korean firm's equity. Seoul has been called on to respond to the situation because Naver lacks communication channels with the Japanese government, whose moves have widely faced criticism as Naver is responsible for most of Line's technology. Before the briefing, the Ministry of Science and ICT stated last Friday that it regrets the pressure placed on Naver by Tokyo and will respond firmly and forcefully to any discriminatory action against South Korean firms. It also pledged support for measures to strengthen information security at the company to address the user information leaks, should the firm wish to continue holding its stake in Line Yahoo. But on Monday, the firm's union spoke out against Naver's possible divestment of its stake in Line Yahoo, adding that the firm needs to protect the technology and know-how of its workers that have gone into building Line. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
The U.S. has reaffirmed its rejection of genocide in Gaza while maintaining its reservations about the wisdom of Israel's planned ground offensive into Rafah, asserting that the mission runs a risk of tremendous civilian casualties and no strategic gain. Our Yoon reports.
On Monday, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that the Biden administration does not see the killings of Palestinians in Israel's war with Hamas as genocide, saying that the Palestinians were in hell, caught in the middle of the war. Sullivan also emphasized that a military operation in Rafah would be a mistake, putting a huge number of civilians at risk without strategic gain. Accordingly, the U.S. last week paused the supply of 3,500 heavy payload bombs to Israel.
We do not believe what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. We have been firmly on record rejecting that proposition. Military pressure is necessary, but not sufficient to fully defeat Hamas. If Israel's military efforts are not accompanied by a political plan for the future of Gaza and the Palestinian people, the terrorists will keep coming back and Israel will remain under threat.
While U.S. support will continue through advice and weapons, Sullivan said that Israel is a sovereign country that will make its own decisions. Separately, speaking at the NATO Youth Summit in Miami, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell said that Israel's current strategy against Hamas may not be able to achieve full victory, but also highlighted that victory in Gaza is difficult to define. He also reiterated previous warnings by U.S. officials that Israel cannot defeat Hamas's ideology. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has pledged to continue military operations in Gaza until Hamas is defeated, which is what he described as an absolute victory. Ian Jin, Arirang News.
Also, in the U.S., the Biden administration is poised to unveil new tariffs targeting strategic Chinese sectors to, quote, level the playing field for corporate America. Our Lee Seung-jae explains.
The White House said Monday that U.S. President Joe Biden is set to announce fresh tariffs on Chinese goods. According to White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, the specific details will be announced at the appropriate time and in short order. However, a source familiar with the matter said that Biden is expected to quadruple tariffs on electric vehicles from China from roughly 25% to 100%, while raising other tariffs on key industries including semiconductors, solar, and batteries. The source said the announcement could be made as early as Tuesday, as the Biden administration looks to prevent a wave of cars made in China from hitting the U.S. market. Pundits say the latest decision is a move to bolster his image as being tougher on China than former president and election rival Donald Trump. Sullivan said the president and his administration will continue to address China's unfair practices that harm American workers and businesses. In response to the soon-to-be announced tariffs, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Monday that the U.S. could see a significant response from China. Speaking to Bloomberg Television, Yellen said she hopes that won't be the case as Biden continues to target U.S. concerns, but added there's always a possibility. When asked if Washington wants a trade war with Beijing, Yellen said that the U.S. is working to stabilize its economic relationship and does not wish to disengage from China economically, but emphasized that the playing field should be fair and China engages in unfair practices like massive subsidies. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In France on this Tuesday, curtains will go up for the 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival. A total of 22 films will be screened in competition, with each vying for the prestigious Palme d'Or Award, the festival's highest accolade. While no Korean screen production is competing this year, 2 Korean feature films will be screened during the festival. Crime action film I, the Executioner will be shown under the midnight screenings category, and the documentary Walking in the Movie as part of Cannes Classics. The festival runs until May 25th, when the top prize winner is announced. Meanwhile, on the music front, we are looking ahead to a greater presence of K-pop stars on global stages in the weeks ahead. Our Kim Bo-kyung has a preview.
More and more K-pop artists are being invited to global music festivals abroad. Of course, it is not surprising to see major festivals asking K-pop acts to shine at the show, and we are indeed seeing more debuting at large-scale stadiums and festivals. Leading such a trend is 17, the 13-member act that is joining the lineup for this year's Glastonbury Festival in the UK. The 5-day festival is set to take place from June 26th to 30th, and 17 is booked for Glastonbury's Pyramid Stage, a first for a K-pop act in the festival's 50-year history. Lollapalooza Berlin is where K-pop fans can also enjoy a 17 performance as well, as the boy band has been invited to headline the festival slated for early September. 17 is not the only K-pop act that is having a chance to headline major music festivals. Stray Kids 2 will headline on Lollapalooza, this time in Chicago in August, for the second straight year after performing at Lollapalooza Paris last July, another first for a K-pop artist. For the Chicago version, K-pop girl groups IVE and Vicha are also invited to perform. Japan is not an exception. Summer Sonic in August is set to feature the largest number of K-pop acts in the Japanese music festival's history, with the lineup including IVE, NCT Dream, singer-songwriter duo Akmu, Zero Base One. Adding to that, TWICE and 17 are expected to hold a concert at Nissan Stadium, Japan's largest stadium with 75,000 seats, for the first time since TVXQ's concert there. An expert says such performances at music festivals can upgrade K-pop acts' live performance skills and their brands.
In South Korea, idols do more broadcast activities than concerts most of the time. But by headlining such global music festivals, they can upgrade themselves to become live performance artists on the global stage, adding more value to their own brands.
Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Right here in Seoul, a unique competition took place at a park by the Han River this past weekend, one that challenged participants to simply zone out for an hour and a half to win. Our Yoon was there.
Do you ever want to just space out and do nothing for a while? Well, there is a place where people gather to do that and maybe even win a trophy. Seoul City government hosted the 10th Space Out competition on Sunday at the Banpo Hangang Park.
I wanted to apply for this competition as this competition is very interesting to me. It underlines the importance of taking time for ourselves and relax and meditation.
This year, more than 2,700 teams applied to participate in the competition, and 80 individuals or teams of up to 3 members were selected. Participants spanning from celebrities to athletes were there to express their individuality, adding to the enjoyment of the competition.
We are bakers, so it's really hot in front of the oven. I found myself wanting to empty my mind.
After working so hard, I feel confident about spacing out.
As I've entered my 60s, I wanted to try new things and explore a variety of experiences. I don't necessarily have ambitions of winning first place. Instead, I'm cherishing it as a wonderful experience.
And with a bell ring to start the competition, each participant settled into their own comfortable state of spacing out. Surprisingly, the presence of a crowd didn't seem to disrupt their peaceful state of mind.
To win, participants need to maintain a blank state by not moving or even thinking about anything for 90 minutes. Wristband heart rate monitors will check every 15 minutes.
Visual artist Upsiang is the organizer of the event. She says the selection process for participants prioritizes the reasons for the application, while also wishing to bring together a diverse group of people in terms of age, gender, and occupation.
My wish is that everyone can collectively experience a moment of true relaxation during this unique occasion.
While some participants chose to withdraw midway, others demonstrated remarkable endurance. After the 90-minute space-out session, the winner was determined based on 2 factors. Firstly, participants' heart rate graphs were analyzed to measure relaxation levels. And secondly, through on-site voting by onlookers, who selected their favorite participant based on the stories that led them to apply. In the end, Kwon So-ah, a freelance broadcaster who previously worked as a reporter at Arirang, took the trophy.
I space out often, but it feels like my heart rate is around 150 beats per minute right now.
Even without a cash prize, people seem to enjoy the significance and meaning imparted by the event, because we all need to find moments of relaxation and peace amidst the hustle and bustle of our busy lives. Yoon, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In the U.S., Michael Cohen, the former lawyer of Donald Trump, testified in court on Monday that Trump personally signed off on a hush money payment to an adult film actress. Once the former U.S. president's most loyal aide, Cohen told jurors on Monday that Trump told him to just do it, personally instructing Cohen to find the best way to pay the porn star Stormy Daniels $130,000 in return for her silence on an alleged sexual encounter in 2006. Cohen said that he had rang Trump twice to confirm his approval before opening a bank account for the hush money payment. Cohen further testified that Trump reimbursed him by falsely recording it as a legal retainer fee. When Trump's lawyers argued that Cohen acted on his own, he said that everything required Mr. Trump's sign-off, and that Trump warned before his 2016 campaign there would be a lot of women coming forward. Cohen on Monday also admitted to lying under the oath multiple times. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 counts of fraud and denies having sex with porn star Stormy Daniels. To Kazakhstan next, where the country's former economy minister, Kwandik Bishimbayev, was sentenced to 24 years in prison on Monday for the torture and murder of his wife. 44-year-old Bishimbayev was found guilty following a 7-week trial, which included key CCTV video evidence. Footage showed him repeatedly kicking and punching his 31-year-old wife, Sultanat Nukenova, before she was dragged by her hair into a room where she later died. Additional videos from Bishimbayev's phone included him humiliating his bruised and bloodied wife. Days after her death, relatives launched an online anti-domestic violence petition to pass Sultanat's law, which quickly garnered over 150,000 signatures and passed parliament in April. Bishimbayev was sentenced to 10 years for bribery in 2018, but served less than 3 years. In tech news, ChatGPT creator OpenAI announced the release of its new AI model called GPT-4o on Monday. GPT-4o, with the O standing for Omni, claims that it is able to reason across audio, visual, and text-based information in real time. It accepts any combination of text, audio, and images as input and can generate a similar combination of output. With an average audio input response time of 320 milliseconds, OpenAI says that it is similar to a human's response time in a conversation. The updated AI model was unveiled at a live stream event on Monday, where it guided watchers through a math equation, provided real-time language translations, and analyzed data on a graph. OpenAI CTO Mira Murati said that GPT-4o is a huge step forward when it comes to the ease of use. In entertainment news, the winners of the 2024 BAFTA Television Awards were announced on Sunday evening local time at London's Royal Festival Hall. The awards, which are given to the best in television, saw Top Boy win Best Drama Series, while The Sixth Commandment and Squid Game: The Challenge also won their respective categories. Timothy Spall won the Best Leading Actor for his role in The Sixth Commandment, while Sarah Lancashire of Happy Valley won Best Leading Actress. Jasmine Jobson won Best Supporting Actress for her role in Top Boy, while Matthew McFadden won Best Supporting Actor for his role in Succession. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Today looks to be a repeat of yesterday nationwide under bright skies with very high UV rays. Have your sun protection ready, and afternoon highs should go up a couple of degrees in many places. So Seoul gets up to 24 degrees, Daegu, Gyeongju topping out at 28 degrees this afternoon. Air quality will be normal to good all day in most parts of Korea. Then the weather will take a turn tomorrow with rain in the forecast for Buddha's birthday. It will start to rain from northern central regions around lunchtime and should rain all day tomorrow. The East Coast will receive the most rain with up to 60 millimeters, and rain could continue into Thursday in Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-Pukdo provinces. Meanwhile, the rest of the country could see 5 to 40 millimeters through late tomorrow night. And that band of rain will bring down the highs to the upper teens in the capital tomorrow. Meanwhile, it's a rain-free holiday for Jeju and parts of Jeollado provinces tomorrow. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
Right, and those are the headlines at this hour here in Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session. Do stay with us.
Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries. Our change will lead to better lives for all. New Lotte, the power of a better world. New today, better tomorrow. Lotte.
Children's laughter, hope, dream. K-animation belongs in them. Interesting and valuable story that transcends between everyday life and dream. Surprising spectacle where imagination becomes real. An array of subjects catering from infants to adolescents. For our story to reach all corners of the world. K-animation makes healthy laughter for children. Completely new. But something anyone can relate with. Flawlessly made. laughs and tears that go with it. K-drama. Korea is coming at you with another story to tell.
One job is no longer enough here in Korea, as quite a number of people choose to hold 2 or more jobs to make ends meet and more. So what are the statistics telling us about the presence of these jacks of many trades? What are the main reasons behind their decision to seek multiple jobs? And what are the broader implications of this phenomenon? Hello and welcome. You're watching Issues and Insiders for this Tuesday, May 14th, here in South Korea. I'm Min Sun-hee. A growing number of people here in the country are opting for multiple jobs. And for more on this phenomenon, I have Professor Kim Jo-eun at the KDI School of Public Policy and Management. Professor Kim, it's been a while. Welcome back.
Thank you for inviting me again.
I also have Kwon-seo with us, so it's great to have you here.
Hello, Sunny.
Right then, so what are these statistics telling us about the presence of people with more than one job?
Well, the number of so-called N-jobbers, how we like to say here in Korea, people who have multiple jobs or a side job or more than one side job, has been growing rapidly in recent years, especially among young adults and those in their 40s. According to data from Statistics Korea's National Economic Activity Survey late last month, the average number of multi-job holders a month stood at 552,000 in the first quarter this year. That's the figure in the bottom right corner. So this is a more than 22% increase from the same quarter last year when we had some 451,000. Now, by age, the elderly working population, or those in their 60s, had the highest number of employed people with side jobs at over 194,000. That's followed by those in their 50s and 40s. As you can see, the number is going up in all age groups, but the biggest increase of side job holders is seen in the 15 to 29 and 40s bracket. These saw an on-quarter hike by close to 31 and 28% respectively. While the proportion of N-jobbers among all workers is still relatively small, it's growing at rapid speed. There were just 1.3% in 2019, but as of last year, almost 2% among the total workforce.
Right, I see. Professor Kim, how do you explain this growing phenomenon?
In my perspective, the rapid increase in multiple job holders, especially among young adults and those in their 40s, can be attributed to several factors. And one of the fundamental sources of this trend is growing economic insecurity and financial insecurity, especially in the labor market. In the past, following a traditional path to success, such as graduating from college, often lead to lifelong employment in a stable, standard job that provided employment protection, benefits, and even a pension after retirement. However, increased competition in the labor market and changes in the industrial structure have led to an increase in non-standard forms of employment, such as part-time work and irregular work and dispatch labor. And these types of jobs do not typically offer long-term employment protection and tends to be short-term. And under these conditions, many workers find it necessary to take on multiple jobs to maintain financial stability. And moreover, stagnant wages and rising cost of living have made it increasingly difficult for some people to make ends meet with just one job. And this is particularly true for young adults who are just starting their careers and those in their 40s who may have a significant financial responsibility, such as supporting a family. And another factor particularly relevant to Korean context is the growing burden of debt, such as housing loans. In Korean context, in recent years, many people have invested heavily in housing, and the increasing interest rates make it challenging for them to meet their basic needs while also paying off their substantial interest obligations. And lastly, there are also growing concern about financial security in later life. And even if some people can manage their finances currently, they worry about securing financial well-being as they age. And this is especially relevant in Korean context where fertility rates are declining and life expectancy is increasing, which means that there will be more and more people dependent on fewer working population. And many people fear the national pension system in Korea won't be able to take care of their later lives. So all these factors contribute to a significant increase in multiple job holders in Korea.
Right, and staying with these job holders, so what more can you tell us about their traits?
Let's start with educational background. It seems like among those who seek different sources of income, there's a rising population of highly educated people. According to a report by the Korea Labor Institute, close to 27% of multi-jobbers in 2022 were university graduates, an increase from less than 25%. The proportion of postgraduate students rose from 3.7% in 2018 to 4.1% in 2022, whereas a drop was found among those who graduated only from high school or lower level education, from around 21 to 17% in the same span. Now, more than 4 out of 10 people with at least 2 jobs were self-employed, and a little more than that chose to run a business as their second job. The secondary jobs tend to be concentrated in occupations and industries that don't require specialized skills, the report found. As of 2022, the proportion of women in more than one job stood at 46%, and that is a rising trend. What's also an interesting trend we're seeing recently is that many highly educated employees working at conglomerates are turning to side jobs, such as operating their own food business at night. So those you would commonly have thought don't really need that extra job. So if we take a look at the top reasons or advantages of having multi-jobs based on a survey conducted last year, close to 1 in 2 people said to have that extra little money, 27% and close to 26% to save in their young days and for retirement. So that was a pretty similar answer, and also what Professor Kim mentioned before. Struggling to make a living only through your main job, seeing the benefit of making money with your hobby, and making purchases beyond essential living expenses made up roughly 20% each.
Right. Professor Kim, what would you say are the broader implications of this phenomenon? I mean, how does it look to affect our society going forward?
First of all, regarding the growing trend of highly educated individuals taking on multiple jobs in Korea, suggests a significant mismatch between their skills and the job market. Typically, the secondary or tertiary job that people take on tend to be lower quality compared to the primary job. And these additional jobs often require less skills and offer limited opportunities for career development and advancement. As a result, highly educated individuals who engage in multiple jobs may not be able to fully actualize their potential or utilize their expertise. And this phenomenon raises concerns at the country level about the underutilization of human capital, which may have potential negative impact on productivity, innovation, and overall economic growth. And another thing is, this could also suggest increasing social inequalities in the working conditions. While Soa mentioned that the proportion of highly educated multiple job holders are increasing, it is important to note that non-college educated individuals are still more likely to hold these multiple jobs. And given that multiple job holders tend to work long hours, and this trend can exacerbate health disparities among the poor and the advantaged. And workers in the secondary jobs often have limited bargaining power at the workplace to negotiate better wages or working conditions. So this means that those who are already disadvantaged, who are pushed to take multiple jobs, may face even greater challenges in terms of work-life balance, stress, and overall well-being.
Right. So as just mentioned by Professor Kim, I hear statistics prove that working hours have risen in recent times. I suppose this reality is owing to the presence of people with multiple jobs?
Right. Following Korea's implementation of the 52-hour work week system, we have been observing a decline in people working over hours in the past years. However, now the trend has reversed. According to Statistics Korea, the number of people working at least 53 hours a week in 2023 increased 4% from 2022 to close to 3.1 million. It's not only an on-year rise, but the first time in a decade that we are seeing an increase in people working longer than set by law. The number of people working long hours has been steadily declining since 2014 as organizational cultures in the office have shifted to value family and personal time. The paradox we're seeing now is that the increase in work hours appears to be the result of the 52-hour work week having fully taken hold in Korea, meaning the reduced hours people work at their main job allow them to take on other jobs, so making end jobs more common. That is probably why regular employees make up the largest proportion of users of gig work apps, a gig worker being someone who receives wages based on one-time or short-term projects.
Right. That being said then, so what can you tell us about the income made by people with multiple jobs? I mean, is the work well worth the effort?
Well, you would think that, of course, people's income is likely better than if you only have one job. But unfortunately, data shows that while the average work week for end jobbers is nearly 55 hours a week, they earn less per hour than those with one job. Meaning working longer hours is helping to increase earnings, but only to a limited extent. The average monthly wage of people with multiple jobs stood at 2.95 million won, or roughly $2,150, which is about 210,000 won, or $153 more than those with a single job. But when converted to hourly earnings, it was 13,000 won, or $9.5, versus 16,000 won, or $11.7 for multi-jobbers versus single jobbers. Also, people with more than only one main job were also significantly less likely to be enrolled in national pension or employment insurance than those with one workplace.
Right, I see. Professor Kim, keeping in mind what Soya has just said, do you suppose the lack of quality jobs perhaps is behind the insufficient income of people with more than one job?
Yes, and there are two ways to look at this issue. First one is selection effect. Here, selection effect means that individuals who take on multiple jobs tend to be less educated and less skilled compared to those who can hold only a single job. Speaking of that again, many less skilled workers engage in multiple jobs because they find it challenging to secure high quality and well-paying jobs. In this context, it is not necessarily the quality of jobs per se, but the quality of worker that determine the insufficient income. And the second reason for the limited financial benefits of multiple job holding is related to, of course, the nature of the job that people typically take on as secondary or tertiary employment. With a few exceptions, most of these additional jobs are not high quality positions that offer substantial remuneration or opportunities for career growth. Instead, the majority of secondary and tertiary jobs are characterized by low wages, limited benefits, and less job security compared to the primary job. So these non-standard forms of employment often fail to provide significant boost to the overall earnings of multiple job holders.
Right, I see. And moving forward then, Professor Kim, what do you propose to perhaps allow for a balance between work and satisfaction for people with multiple jobs?
So important thing is the responsibility for ensuring work-life balance and satisfaction among multiple job holders should not fall solely on the individual workers, as many of them are engaging in these multiple jobs out of necessity rather than choice. So the government has a crucial role to play in creating policies and programs that support the well-being of these workers. I guess the first thing the government can do is to enforce strict regulations on working hours to prevent employers from exploiting multiple job holders. This can involve setting a maximum limit on weekly work hours, or mandating overtime pay for hours worked beyond the standard work week, or ensuring that workers receive adequate rest periods between shifts. As the statistics Soa shared, excessive working hours can have detrimental effect on workers' happiness and overall well-being, particularly among young adults. So it's critical that they set a regulation on these work hours. And another thing is the government should encourage employers to offer flexible work options such as adjustable schedules or remote work or job sharing. And these kind of flexible arrangements can help multiple job holders better manage their various work commitments and create more time for personal and family responsibilities so they can manage work-life balance better.
Right. So I understand this trend of being a jack of many trades, if I may, is also evident in countries beyond, of course, South Korea.
Right. Well, let's take a look at the U.S. first, where there are many more people with more than one job than here in Korea. In fact, the U.S. Labor Department showed almost 8.4 million Americans had multiple jobs as of October last year, which is 5.2% of the country's workforce. So also percentage-wise, that is much more than here in Korea. As I mentioned, it was around 2% recently. Now, this was the highest level in the U.S. since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and is attributed to the burden of inflation, but also due to the increase in working from home jobs, which happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, among the multiple job holders, some 5 million held a full-time and a part-time job. Close to 2 million had 2 part-time jobs. 1.1 million indicated they held jobs where hours varied, and fewer than 400,000 worked 2 full-time jobs. I don't know how that is possible. But meanwhile, in Japan, some 3.05 million workers held side jobs in 2022, according to figures by the country's Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, which conducts a survey on the nation's employment structure once in 5 years. And that was a rise by 600,000 from 2017. Some 4.8% of multi-jobbers made up the total workforce in Japan. So again, that is, again, a higher percentage than here in Korea. Japanese media recently put spotlight on the increasing number of people that are fined for missing tax returns, happenings that are linked to the rise in second or more jobs.
Right. Professor Kim, in what direction do you believe should the government's labor policies flow, perhaps, to allow for a productive work environment then for people with several jobs?
I think, first of all, it's too early to determine what kind of policies can be implemented to kind of promote work environment for these people, because we don't have much knowledge about kind of working conditions that they're facing. So first of all, there should be a scientific research conducted so we can better understand the kind of working conditions that these multi-job holders are facing. And another thing is, it seems like based on the descriptive statistic, these workers are facing unfavorable working conditions. So I think the government should work to ensure that all workers, including those with multiple jobs, receive fair wages and have access to essential benefits such as paid sick leave and retirement plans. So by providing financial stability and security, these measures can help reduce the stress and anxieties often associated with holding multiple jobs.
Right, so keeping the welfare of workers at the forefront then. Professor Kim, as always, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts today. And so here in the studio, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you, Sunny.
Right, well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Issues and Insiders. As always, thank you for watching.
갑니다. 방포 스탠바이. 방포 스타트.
그럼 당연히 알지 왜 몰라 그 전까지 위해 업힌 나의 새 직장의 아주 높은 꼭대기에 앉았지 하지만 알잖아 별을 구경하려고 온 건 아니야 너를 만나기 위한 나의 노력 그녀의 삶을 살라고 제 이름과 사랑한다는 말을 잘 운동하는 것 같아요 그래서 쉽게 손 잡는 것